What's the most weird, terrifying confession you've heard from someone that was drunk? Bartender here. So many stories. Probably most terrifying is the woman who came into my bar years ago and had 2 shots and a drink and was real quiet for the first hour. Then she called me over and asked if I could call the police. I said what was the problem. She then told me that she had just stabbed and sliced the neck of a mugger in the alley and wanted to make sure he was dead first before she reported it. Note: police were called. Mugger found dead. Woman not arrested or charged. She denied ever telling me that she wanted to wait an hour before calling the police, claimed that she had passed out in the alley and woke up, then came into the bar in shock. Holy shit. How did she manage to overpower and kill a mugger? My friend drunkenly told me his mother abused him when he was a kid, and I am the only person who ever knows. Instantly understood why sometimes he doesn't want to be at home alone with his mom at times. Your poor friend. His mother should be locked away. Yeah, she should. It happened around 15 years ago, but he said it very well considering the only way I found out is because he was hammered. My friend through 20 years broke down in the middle of a bar and told me. A guy from our high school class raped her at a party in 10th grade. And none of us heard her cry from the room upstairs. This happened to me once, by 3-5 dudes at once. Still haven't told anyone. I'm too scared not to be believed. I think it's my scariest memory. It still gives me panic attacks if I think of it and don't immediately distract myself with different thoughts actions. My now ex-girlfriend confessed to having to wipe my ass after I drunkenly took a dump during post-21st birthday shenanigans. Amuses me now, but I was embarrassed for a long time after. I read a post on relationship advice not long ago where a guy said his girl always blackouts and sheet herself one time. He cleaned her up. Didn't know if he should tell her that they steal money from passed out drunk hookups. That's the last time this person came to hang out at my place. My ex-boyfriend told me one night, he moved here from Vietnam when he was 14, that his cousin is a gay prostitute and would fly to Hong Kong periodically to make bank. He'd slip something in his John's drink at the bar to make them go to sleep just before heading to the hotel room. They'd get to the hotel room. John would end up falling asleep. He'd empty out the wallet and take off. Once, a dude wearing a tiger costume walked into a Halloween house party I was in. It was like 4 AM, so we were all already smashed. He sat on my lap and tried to convince me that I am a trans guy, and should transition and date him. Then he told me in detail how he violently hates his mum and exactly how he would like to murder and dismember her. He then also tried to convince me that I hate my mother, I do not, and I should heal her. When I said no, he yelled at me, left through the front door and threw himself down the stairs. He was fine. Gotta love a guy who makes a splashy entrance. Exit. With a lot of compelling conversation in between. Not me, but a friend. He was out with a girl he didn't know too well and they got drunk. She said she was initiated into a gang. They just collected straight people they didn't know. Took them to a warehouse. Beat them up. And when they were thoroughly beaten, broken down, she and the other recruits administered an overdose of heroin, killing them. There are weird people out there, you need to be careful. Gang initiation for women is usually different. That's fine. But I see it says motorcycle gangs. Makes sense. This girl was a stripper. Didn't have just a lot going for her. And I doubt it was a motorcycle gang. In Illinois, we're plagued with generic gang activity that usually originates from Chicago and is infecting central Illinois, Peoria, Bloomington. Normal. No motorcycles. Just death, violence, and scum. The police aren't doing much to stop its spread. My male best friend at the time confessed me while drunk that he wanted to abuse my female best friend and that just the idea of it made him hard. Since the only way to get to her was with my help, he insisted that it would be great for us 3 to go to a separate room. We were at a party. He said that while he was with her I could either watch or join them since I was also pretty duckable. Of course. I told him to go to hell. I grabbed my best friend and we both left the party. Needless to say, I broke ties with him and he can't get close to us. The three of us were 17 at the time. That's stuck up. Dude. Do you have any idea what he is up to now? My parents were both drunk and got in a fight which escalated their emotions apparently. And my stepdad had a mental breakdown due to the situation and came in my room to vent about it. And basically admitted to me that when he was 16 he got a girl pregnant and they had my stepbrother. And choked her during an argument. She didn't press charges because her mother said don't ruin his life over it. So that's how he got away with it. After that he started talking about how he's actually healed people and how he's really about that life. Spent his teenage years hustling and selling Drew Gus and never got caught cause he had a fake ID or some shit. All the years I've known this guy we barely talked and he threw all this at me one random night where I barely knew what was going on lol. Home booking into Bushjiff. I work at a bar and our staff had a huge problem with heroin a couple years ago. It was to the point that management was regularly having to sweep the bathroom for needles. Anyway. One of the guys was a friend of mine and I thought he was an overall good guy despite his crippling addiction. One night we were having a few drinks after work and he got a little too drunk and admitted that a couple months prior he had bought stuff from someone he didn't know and didn't trust, so he called up a girl he'd used with before and told her he had stuff and could he come over. He let her go first and she immediately had a terrible reaction to whatever was in the Drew Gus, seizing and doting in front of him. He left her house without notifying the police or trying to help. He odded himself a couple months after. Holy shit. So not only did he use her to test his Drew Gus, but didn't even call it in when she OD'd. True scum of the earth behavior. Yet and I was totally wrong about him. He always talked about getting clean and having plans, but when he told me that I knew he was too far gone. I had a neighbor. She was young and a serious alcoholic. She'd been a nurse before I met her but was under some type of investigation because pills at her job had gone missing. One night she was super drunk and told me that she had put pillows over some of the elderly patients' faces and suffocated them because she couldn't stand to see them suffer anymore, bed sores and just in pain. I asked her about it when she'd sobered up and she denied saying that to me. She passed away about 3 years ago, so I'll never know if what she said was true or not. She sounds like an angel of death, which is I believe one of 6 classifications of serial killers. Was making out with a drunk girl and she wanted to duck and she said she was on birth control. We didn't duck cause I didn't want to have sex with a drunk girl. 2 weeks later we're both sober and she wants to hook up but she wasn't on birth control, so I had to get condoms. Later on that night she told me she hasn't been on birth control in months. Scared the hell out of me. Bullet dodged because you are a decent human being. Good job. I know you'll never love me. I wish I had raped you that time we were alone in a room. While we were both drunk and kinda alone at another party. That's the strangest combination of gonads and low self-esteem I've ever heard of. Are you in contact still? That's so threatening. Casually mentioning that an ex-boyfriend raped her, then promptly attempting to sexually assault me. You could say I was caught off guard. Abused people often become abusers. It's a very unfortunate cycle. Was on leave from the army with some mates and met a fellow from an adjacent unit. We all proceeded to get good and drunk when the fellow from the other unit told us about how he fabricated an after-action report because he had killed a local and reported that he felt threatened. We discussed it the next day when sobering up and ran it up the chain of command. Turns out he never actually did what he claimed to do, but was probably thinking about it and described his plan to us in a way that made it sound like he'd already done it. About 2 weeks later Scuttlebutt said that he was quietly sent to another base for reasons. So Jack Reacher was right. My ex-boyfriend told me that his high school girlfriend was sexually assaulted by her doctor. He burned that doctor's office to the ground in the middle of the night. This sounds like the type of thing a pathological liar says to make themselves seem heroic. One guy finding out that his real biological parents are twins when his mom says something while drunk. I imagine the parents being Ryan and Sharpay Evans from High School Musical, who have already become famous actors who have come out about being siblings who raise a family. And the OP in that post would be their son. It would make sense if they were royals with a big bed. They put two twins together to make a king. My uncle, who has always been an oasis of sanity and understanding in my family, got super ducking drunk and told me he doesn't really care about anyone. Not even me. And that he fantasizes constantly about murdering everyone he loves. Starting with the people closest to him first. He would take his time doing it. I told him he'd been winning the fight against those thoughts every day for 40 years. And he'd been 100% successful so far. And tried to change the topic. He started laughing and started carrying on about how fun it would be to give in to those urges and how no one would be able to stop him, and he got so excited by it that he had to go sit out in the sub-zero weather at 3 AM on the porch for a couple minutes to calm down. He was really graphic with what he wanted to do to his sister, my mom, and told me that when he lived with my grandmother, he would sometimes stand over her while she slept thinking of how much he hated being around her and wishing he could smother her. He has had waking blackouts in the past, so I took this issue to my parents, who have dealt with it before and haven't really been close to him since. I think he doesn't remember telling me any of this. Holy shit. I'd move far away and change my name. I also have a super chill uncle that I adore, and I'm